This is the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us via the telephone, our financial endowment expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping our show on May 26th, 2017. Our time is 8:45 Mountain. It was a holiday in Canada on Monday, Victoria Day. In the United States, on Monday, it is Memorial Day, so a long weekend in the United States. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022. Our featured diamond of the week. See it at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Featured diamond, a .78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow internally flawless ring. It is beautiful. See it online at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, and we'll talk about diamonds coming up in the second half of the show. Well, it was a very difficult week with the terrorist attack in Manchester, England, at the Ariana Grande concert. Just your hearts go out to all those young people and everyone that was affected as a result of that attack. And as we tape the program this morning, news alert from Fox News and CNN, Christians targeted, 23 dead in an attack on an Egyptian bus, and CNN saying unidentified gunmen in Egypt opened fire on a bus carrying Coptic Christians, killing 23 people, according to state-run media. And Harold, we're seeing more and more of this, and we've said for a long time that you need to obviously take geopolitical into account with your financial portfolio, because a 9/11 comes along and other terrorist attacks, and it can affect the markets. As a result, you definitely need to have part of your portfolio that would be not susceptible to a terrorist attack. And that's something that we've talked about before, and people should be very aware of keeping in mind that thought process as we move forward. As you've said for a long time, North Korea is a very big threat, and it's almost gone to the point where how do we stop them from getting a nuclear bomb? And if that happens, we've got serious problems. But investing in the environment that we're in today is very different than it was 20, 25, 30 years ago due to geopolitical events.
Very true. It's a very confusing and a very dangerous investment world at this particular point, because things can change so quickly. Just look at what's happening with Bitcoins. They're changing within minutes by hundreds of dollars. It's just a crazy world out there, and a lot of conventional type investments just are not strong at this particular point because of all the situations that you just mentioned. What's happening in London obviously was devastating, and just makes us all so much more aware of what's happening in the world and how dangerous it is. Right at this particular point, gold is up $11 on the day as we're taping the show on Friday. We're trading at $12.67 in gold, and the fact is that gold should really be under a lot of pressure, or should have been under pressure, because gold it's funny the way that it trades, because we've talked about it for all the time that we've been trading gold, that there's certain banks that are allowed to hold short positions in the market. If you look at the commitment of traders reports, for gold and silver, you'll see that there's more gold being shorted, means that these banks feel that the price of gold is going to go down. Now, why would the price of gold go down? Primarily because of the currency markets. A strong U.S. dollar is not good for the price of gold. So, in all honesty, with as strong as the U.S. dollar is at this particular point, even though it's backed off a bit over the last month or so, the fact is that gold should really be dropping, primarily because we have a strong U.S. dollar. However, it isn't dropping. It's holding in there, and on a day like today, it's up $11. Last week, there was a day when the market was up $20 in one day. So we need to start to look at the gold market again at this point. Now, I mentioned the commitment of traders report in this massive short position in the market. Well, the fact is that these banks like J.P. Morgan and banks like them are allowed to go into the metals markets and buy or sell as much of it as their little hearts want to. And the fact is, all of us are not in the same situation because we're not allowed to trade unlimited. There are, in actual fact, there are limits as to what you can actually trade in all commodities. However, the banks are immune to this, and they can short, which they have done on several occasions, massive amounts of gold and silver. In fact, more gold and silver that exist in the world today, these banks have been shorting. That's why the price of gold has been trading in a range for all of these years, and every time the price of gold gets a little bit high, these banks put these additional shorts on, and they make money when the price goes down. But what's happening at this particular point is a change, because there's an alert out at this point that these record short gold and silver positions are starting to be covered. What that means is that the banks, instead of just outright shorting the market, knowing that they're going to force the market lower, what they're actually starting to do is cover these shorts. It means that they're not as heavily short the market at this point in gold and silver, and that tells me that these geopolitical situations at this point are extremely important and could reverse the price of gold. We've always said that the price of gold is eventually going to trade at 3,000 to 5,000. The problems in the world today are almost insurmountable. And what they've been able to do in the United States all this time after 2008 is basically keep a lid on it. We were involved in the largest bull market in gold and silver ever in history. When we first started recommending gold back in 1999-2000, the price of gold was at $250. 11 years later, it was at $1,900. It was the biggest bull market of all time. So then some things happened. They artificially brought down the price of gold from $1,900 all the way down to $1,100, and now the market's trading at about $1,250, $1,260. So it's basically been trading in a range for the last 3 to 4 years. However, as the U.S. dollar got stronger and stronger, and the U.S. dollar will continue to strengthen, what it should actually be doing is pushing down the price of gold and silver. Add to it the short positions in the gold and silver market, means that gold could have literally dropped down to $800, $900. However, we have a president at this particular point that is causing problems. Let me put it this way. Within his first 100 days in office, he had already bombed Syria, already dropped a bomb on Afghanistan, and is now starting to fight with North Korea. Been saying for the last 3 to 4 weeks that that's a major concern for us, because North Korea has got a massive army of well over 1 million people and has the firepower to do serious damage. And we know that they're unstable. So there's about a $200 premium built into the price of gold at this particular point due to the fact that these geopolitical situations are happening at this time, with the most severe situation being the fact that we could go to war with North Korea, which would be a horrible, horrible situation, and would affect the financial markets in a gigantic way. So we now have to start to look to put gold back into our portfolio. It is possible that with any of these types of scenarios that are happening in the world today, and what happened in London and what Randy reported about with Egypt this morning, is basically could happen anywhere in the world. So we need to start owning physical gold again, not paper gold, not financing gold. You want to own this outright. We're just starting a program in gold that we will allow the clients to my company and my radio show to buy gold from us with no commission and no spread. They're only in kilo bars, but this is something that's extremely important at this point. So if you're interested in our program in gold, where you can buy physical kilos of gold, 99.9% gold, that are absolutely phenomenal, we can deliver that gold directly to you. We can store the gold for you. I can even trade the gold for you personally, which I intend on doing for my clients. And at this point, you're only able to buy kilos, but you want to be back into the gold market at this point. There's just too many situations out there that are very dangerous. Obviously, the terrorist attacks are one, but the interest rate situations and the currency situations are another. And the fact is that we are now in a position to start to allow our clients to buy gold physically through us with no spread, no commission, and you can basically buy and sell at the bid price. So if you want information on our gold program, please contact us, and I'll let you know exactly how that's going to work. But at this point here, with what happened last week in London, what's happening in Egypt, what's happening all over the world at this point, and it appears that they're testing this president. You know, he's not politically minded, he's business minded, and he's had some issues. And the fact is, I believe that Russia and other countries are going to continue to test Trump. And the fact is, we know that he's a bully, and we know that he's capable of saying and doing things that could, you know, actually cause a problem. So we need to diversify at this particular point. We cannot be naked in our investments. Basically, we offer not only investments in hard assets and alternative assets in physical gold and physical diamonds, but we also have programs that are all based in U.S. dollars, where our clients can literally partner with us in the rough colored diamond market, and that's worked out extremely well for our clients, where our clients make over 25% a year, and again, that's all in U.S. money. You need to be out of Canadian dollars or start to get into U.S.-based dollar investments because of the weakness of the Canadian dollar, the weakness of the overall Canadian economy, and the fact that oil seems to be going south at this particular point. So, again, we will certainly sit down and talk to any of the listeners to our show and try to right the ship for you and get you into a situation where your portfolio is not at risk and you have an opportunity to make serious money. Putting your money in the bank and making 0.5% is not making money. Putting your money into the stock market where 90% of the people lose is not a great opportunity to make money. And to have your retirement savings plans at this point not make money for you for the last decade is not a strong situation either. You need to get in touch with us so we can explain our gold program and our other private investments that our Canadian clients are making over 25% a year, and that money is in U.S. dollars.
Connect with Harold. RareColoredDiamonds.com. RareColoredDiamonds.com. The call is free. Anything discussed, confidential. 1-800-432-1022. 1-800-432-1022. RareColoredDiamonds.com is the website. We'll talk about diamonds in the second half of the show. Our featured diamond of the week is a 0.78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. See it online. RareColoredDiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. And one of the interesting stories was Bitcoin this week, as Harold mentioned off the top of the show. And a guy that we've read and admired for a long time is Jim Sinclair. Jim Sinclair said, Bitcoin and all its new brothers and sisters, as there are other cryptocurrencies out there, are tulips and OTC Cell-C companies. And of course, we're talking about the tulip mania that happened back in Holland 100 years ago, where people were buying tulips, and then the mania crashed, and people were basically bankrupted. He says here, do not knock. If you're a trader, there are trades to be made. That is until the musical chairs stop. But one of the things that happened this week with Bitcoin, it went to $2,800 on Thursday, and today here it is around $2,500. There seems to be a mania associated with it, and it's a very, very dangerous thing to be playing with at this point in time. Many companies won't touch it due to the volatility. If you're a company and you want to take in, let's say, $100,000, and suddenly Bitcoin crashes, and you're not going to get paid $100,000 suddenly. One of the interesting stories, and I thought it quite funny, Harold and I had a good laugh earlier in the week. Someone in 2010 purchased 2 pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoins, which today would be worth $20 million. Those pizzas, $20 million pizzas. Yes, true, strange, but true. We do have information on Bitcoin in our free weekly newsletter. If you want to learn more, get our free weekly newsletter from Harold, RareColoredDiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, RareColoredDiamonds.com, and Harold will be happy to talk to you about Bitcoin. And I agree with Jim Sinclair. Unless you're an expert trader, a financial genius, stay away from Bitcoin because it has the potential to be very, very dangerous. Interesting quote in our free weekly newsletter this week from Egon von Greyers. And he is a person who's recommended gold and silver for a long time. He says since 2011, tops in gold and silver precious metals investors have had their patience severely tested. 6 years later, silver is down about 66% from the $50 peak, and gold 35% off the 1920 peak. But we mustn't forget that these metals started this century at $2.80 and $5 respectively. Having said that, it is no consolidation or consolation for the investors who got in near the highs. Best time to buy an asset is when it is unloved and undervalued like gold and silver were in the early 2000s. What few investors realize is that the current levels of gold and silver, when real inflation is taken into account, are very similar to where the metals were back in 2000-2002. Thus, gold at $12.55 and silver at $17 is an absolute bargain and unlikely to remain at these levels for long. That according to Egon von Greyers. And Egon has been talking about gold and silver for a long, long time out of Switzerland. It was interesting as well. John Embry from Sprott Asset Management was mentioning silver, and he said, at the very time that silver was being driven to a recent low in the mid-16s, it was reported that a painting by a deceased American artist that sold for $19,000 in 1984 was bought at auction by a Japanese investor for a staggering sum of $111 million. Thus, at a time when virtually all assets viewed as a store of value, with the exception of precious metals, are exploding in price, silver is trading at exactly one-third of its record high price of $50 reached in 1980 and again in 2011. At the same time, there's a massive short position in the silver paper market, and some astute observers believe that there may actually be they're actually saying that as many as 500 paper claims on each physical ounce of silver that is currently available, which is a staggering amount. To add insult to injury for the silver investors, the cryptocurrencies led by Bitcoin are also rising exponentially. With Bitcoin doubling in price over the past several months, I suspect this will come to a climax fairly shortly, and the winner at that point will be silver, which is remarkably inexpensive in a world filled with vastly overpriced financial assets. And he goes on to mention stocks, bonds, and real estate. But Harold, yes, back when we started doing our radio program, we talked about gold. Gold was around, at that point in time, $250 to $300. And you recommended gold, and there were people that said some not nice things about us. But over the time of the show, it went all the way up to 1920. And there were people who made out very, very well. On the silver side of things, we talked about silver. And silver, if I remember correctly, when we started doing the show, was around $4. And it went all the way up to $49, $50. And that turned out to be a massive winner for many radio listeners that went into the silver and gold market and made an investment. And there were other winners as well, obviously rare-colored diamonds and your call on oil. I remember when oil was $18 to $20 a barrel, and it went all the way to $1.50. Even the euro at around 87 cents to the U.S. dollar went to $1.60 at one point. So we've had some very big winners, but now is a time when you have an asset like gold and silver that are very unloved to seriously start taking a look at them, because in the world that we're in today with the Trumps in power in the United States, anything could possibly happen. And you take a look at geopolitical concerns, you definitely want an insurance policy in your portfolio.
You bet, Randy. These are crazy times, and I agree 100%. That's why we're doing this deal in gold for our clients. Obviously would never recommend anything that I didn't feel had a great opportunity to do well for us. And the fact is that with all this happening, we need to start getting into physical gold again at this point, just as a hedge against all these things that could happen and will happen. There's no doubt that North Korea is not going to go away. And if we do go to war with North Korea, then we could see a massive rally in the price of gold. We could see the U.S. dollar strengthen and gold strengthen at the same time. So I do believe at this point here that it's imperative that we start to look at the metal again. We're going to bring the gold to you with no commissions and no spread, give our clients the opportunity to make a lot of money. We made a fortune in gold back from 2000 to 2011. Since then, the market has basically been trading in a range because it's just the way the government worked things out. They didn't want gold on the radar. They didn't want gold to trade high because it signaled that the economy was not getting better after 2008 to 2011 type of thing. And that's when they manipulated the market. However, you can only manipulate a market so much till this market comes back with a vengeance, and I believe we have that potential in gold. I don't want to wake up one morning and start chasing that market. I want to have our holdings in our hands and ready to go, and I'll even trade the gold for you, and we can even store the gold for you. So give us a call. We'll send you out free information on our new gold program. It's imperative that we look at this market again right now, just judging by what the geopolitical situations are, and that these banks that have been so heavily short the market are now starting to buy back these positions. It's a telltale sign that they also believe that they don't want to be short the gold market at this point. We've got an opportunity to make an awful lot of money.
It's interesting, on a day like today, we have the U.S. dollar going up and gold going up. And that has happened in the past in a gold bull market. Connect with Harold. RareColoredDiamonds.com is the website. Telephone number 1-800-432-1022. How do you invest today so you can retire tomorrow? And that's why we've been doing our radio program for you, and we want to make sure that you are in a position where you're retiring comfortably. You're in a situation where you have money behind you. And if you're wondering about the different programs Harold has in place, speak to him, whether it be gold or many of the other programs involving diamonds. Connect with Harold. The call is free, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022. The website is RareColoredDiamonds.com, RareColoredDiamonds.com. And if you take a look at what's happening in Canada, we have stories in our free weekly newsletter about the real estate market in Toronto starting to roll over. And the maybe precipitator was Home Capital and the curbs that they put in place. We know in Vancouver it's starting to slowly turn the boom into a bust. So these are the things you need to take into account when you're investing today, and Harold will be happy to explain any questions that you have. Connect with Harold, 1-800-432-1022. The website is RareColoredDiamonds.com. Going to come back and talk about diamonds as the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall, continues right after this. Welcome back to the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us via the telephone, our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping our show on May 26th, 2017. Our time is 9:10 Mountain. Don't forget, if you miss a show, they're archived on Harold's website, RareColoredDiamonds.com, streaming there 24/7. And we have a podcast. People love podcasts. And you can find our podcast on iTunes. Type in The World Financial Report on Radio. We are there for you, too. We are portable. We go anywhere you do. Now, last weekend, on Monday, it was Victoria Day here in beautiful Canada. And finally, we had a long weekend where the weather was nice for a change. It wasn't snowing. It wasn't raining. For that, we say thank you to the weatherman. Now, in the United States, they have a long weekend. It is Memorial Day on Monday in the United States. Connect with Harold at RareColoredDiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022, RareColoredDiamonds.com. Our featured diamond of the week is a .78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. And it is absolutely gorgeous. You can see it online at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. And Harold, here we are, almost at the end of May. And the first 4 months of the year are done. And the auction seasons have been very, very successful. We saw blues go for good prices. We saw pinks go for good prices. It was a very successful auction season in the first 4 months of the year, and that was great news for those that are invested in rare-colored diamonds.
You bet. It's all the alternative asset market again. The real estate markets are suspect at this point. In Toronto and in Vancouver, they're very dangerous. The real estate markets in the United States are not doing amazing. Most people are renting as opposed to buying. The fact is the stock markets are in a bubble. The real estate markets in parts of Canada are in a bubble. So you cannot rely on just putting your money into stocks and mutual funds. All you have to do is look at the returns you've had from your retirement savings plan and understand that those are not great investments, and 90% of the people that actually trade in those markets lose their money. So you've got to look at alternatives, especially with as dangerous as things are today with these terrorist attacks and these geopolitical situations. So we're primarily looking at gold, and physical diamonds are a very important part of your portfolio. Now, it's not for everybody because, again, a kilo of gold at this particular point, which is 2.2 pounds or over 34 ounces, is between 40 and 50,000. But you need to own those type of assets because, that type of asset will respond to what's upcoming. If we do go to war with North Korea, there's no doubt that gold will go back close to probably the $2,000 level and then break there. It was going to do it anyways till the government interfered back in 2011. So we feel at this point that it's the alternative asset market that is showing the biggest returns, obvious by what we've seen recently in the auction market. Now it's the major diamonds, the 60 and 70 million dollar diamonds that have been sold over the past few weeks have stolen the show. But let's face it, most people cannot afford to buy a 60, 70 million dollar diamond. Most people that invest in diamonds that are 20, 40, 50, 100, 200,000. And those type of diamonds do tremendously well over the long term. Those are the diamonds that are the most popular, they're the most affordable. And again, if you look at what the estimates are and what these diamonds actually sell for at auction, the results have been pretty stellar. So we're excited about what's happening in the alternative asset market, and we do believe that this will continue for a long time based on the fact that you cannot really rely on most paper assets at this time.
Connect with Harold. Learn more about investing in hard assets like gold, diamonds. 1-800-432-1022. 1-800-432-1022. The website is rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Our featured diamond of the week is a .78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. See it at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. And Harold, if someone's listening to our radio program, we've had people calling you here recently, and you take many, many calls throughout every week from our radio listeners, longtime listeners, new listeners. If somebody has some money and they're looking to invest in the diamond market, in the gold market, what is your recommendation when it comes to the diamonds that they should be looking at?
Well, you should be looking, depending on what your financial situation is, yellow flawless diamonds, fancy yellows, start in and around the $20,000 a carat level. They increase by about 15% a year, as do the fancy intense yellows, 15 to 20% a year. The fancy vivid yellows, which is the highest color grade given by the Gemological Institute of America, vivid yellows that are flawless, can sell for well over $100,000 to $200,000 a carat. Believe me, it wasn't that way back in 1980. Back in 1980, you could have bought a 1 carat fancy yellow flawless diamond for $500 a carat. Now they're over $20,000 a carat. So we do say that for those that are in the $20,000 to 25 to 30,000 range, look at the yellow flawless diamonds. Put them away for 10, 15, 20 years, as long as you would put away a retirement savings plan. And I can pretty well assure you, you'll do much better with that than you will do with a retirement savings plan that is trading in stocks or in mutual funds. A diamond is never going to fall in price. A diamond that's rare is never going to go down in value. But a stock certainly can. A stock can go to zero. But you'll never see that in gold, and you will never see that in rare diamonds. Above that, I think, is one of the best investment opportunities we've ever seen, which is to invest in Argyle pink diamonds. 95% of all pink diamonds come from the Argyle mine in Western Australia. That mine has been in operation since 1986. It's getting ready to close before 2000, meaning that we are actually, that we're looking at 2020. So we're looking at less than 3 years till that mine closes. There will not be any more pink diamonds, and we feel that pink diamonds from the Argyle mine are amongst the best investments you can possibly buy. Then on top of that, we also are looking at a new trend in green diamonds, because we do believe that the green diamonds are the next major trend in diamonds. And if you've seen what has happened with blue diamonds over the past 10 to 15 years, there has never been another investment that is compared to what blue diamonds have done. A vivid blue diamond back in 2005 was $200,000 a carat. Today, a vivid blue diamond of size and quality could sell for $5 million a carat. We've seen Shirley Temple's diamond in 1940 go from $7,100 to $25 million that is sold for last year. We're going to see green diamonds sell for $3 to $5 million a carat for the important vivid greens. Again, these are assets that are going up tremendously because of the rarity, because of the fact that they can be sold in other currencies, and because they're portable private wealth. There's another asset on earth that will do what a rare colored diamond will do for you financially.
Speak with Harold about investing in our featured diamond of the week. It is a 0.78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. See it at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. And one of the great headlines from a story we found this week, a British jeweler just purchased a 3 billion-year-old diamond. Think about it, 3 billion years old. And that definitely is the case. We used to say that the most secure and profitable investment, millions of years in the making. Actually, it's billions of years in the making. Rare colored diamonds, nature's art. Private, portable, stable wealth. Speak with Harold about starting your own diamond portfolio today. You take a look at what happened in Sotheby's Christie's auctions last week in Geneva, Switzerland. We had the world's most expensive earrings bringing in $57 million at Sotheby's. And that set the record auction price for a pair of earrings, selling a duo of blue and pink diamond jewels for $57 million. They were called Apollo Blue and Artemis Pink, and purchased by the same buyer who wanted to remain anonymous. They were named after the ancient Greek gods. The pear-shaped earrings were estimated at $50 to $68 million. The buyer renamed the 14.54 carat blue diamond the Memory of Autumn Leaves, and the 16 carat pink the Dream of Autumn Leaves. So obviously it was a huge, huge success. Colored diamonds have been setting records. Christie sold the 14.62 carat diamond Oppenheimer Blue for $58 million last year. With Sotheby's, they sold the Pink Star 59.6 carats for $71 million last month, a record auction price for any gem. Now, we did touch on it on the last show, but it bears repeating. At the Magnificent Jewel Sale in Geneva last week, Christie's had a 7.97 carat fancy intense blue cushion-shaped diamond, and the estimate on it was $3 million. So they thought it would go for $3 million. It went for $12.7 million, $1.6 million per carat. And that is the exciting diamond market. You never know what can happen when you take a diamond to auction, and it's a very exciting thing. One of the stories that came out, and this is just a total one-off fluke, but you have to basically say congratulations to the woman who bought it. There was a woman who picked up a ring for $13 at a flea market in England, and that was about 30 years ago, and it was an exceptionally sized ring. She assumed it was costume jewelry for, $13 in the back of a car boot, as they call them in England. Now, after decades of wearing the ring daily, she's about to put it up for auction at Sotheby's in July, and they believe it can sell for $455,000. Obviously, a rare story, but you do hear about them from time to time, people finding artwork and paying $20 for it and selling it for millions of dollars. That is one of those rare stories where we saw that happen with a diamond ring. $13 turned into $455,000. Amazing, to say the least. And Harold, that is one of the things about the diamond market. We've seen it all the time. We get into these auctions. You have something that they thought would sell for $3 million. It ended up going for $12.7 million. An amazing total.
You better believe it. That's so exciting, especially for the woman in England to be able to discover that. But, the thing is that in the rare diamond market, the longer you hold on to these assets, the more and more value they become. On top of that, right now they're priced in U.S. dollars, and we know that the U.S. dollar is a strong currency. The U.S. is the only country in the world that can raise interest rates, meaning that the U.S. dollar should get stronger and stronger. So, again, we feel that at this point, if you just stick with conventional investments, you're going to lose from that. The stock market is risky. We've seen on several occasions where the markets have crashed. And we're at a point right now where the Dow in the U.S. is trading at over 21,000 at a time when they could be going to war with North Korea, at a time when there's terrorist attacks around the world, at a time when most people don't trust the president. He's a bit of a loose cannon. So, again, if you just stick with all your eggs in one basket and say, whatever happens, happens, you're going to find that you're going to have issues with that the markets are going to fall, and it's going to take a long time for them to come back. If you're in your 60s or 70s, the chances are you'll never see the market come back. So at this point, diversification is extremely important. We haven't been back into the gold market since 2011, but we are now saying that it is now time to put gold back into your portfolio, not to buy it on paper, not to finance it through these firms that charge you ridiculous interest rates and storage and things like that. You need to be in a plan where you can make money. My clients in gold will make money with a 1 penny move, because we're not charging any commissions and we're not charging a spread between the bid and the ask. We'll also store the metal for you, and on top of that, if you would like, I'll actually trade it for you at no commission or no fees. All we want is for our clients to make money. And at this particular point, we're going to be able to bring to you a gold program where you can buy kilos of gold and not pay a commission. It means that if gold's at $1,200 and it goes to $1,201, you're already in profits. For free information on our new gold program, please get in touch with me, and I'll make sure that you understand exactly how we're doing this. It's now time to start to look at gold again. And the fact is, I would rather be 10 days early or 10 years early than be 1 day too late. I don't think that we're early at this point. I think that with what's happening and what we're seeing happening with Trump at this point, especially after this disastrous tour that he just took of the Middle East and Israel and now into Europe, he's really upsetting a lot of people. He's a true bully, and I do believe at this point that if we just sit in paper assets, we're going to get hurt very badly. Let me help you reposition your portfolio. We have private investments that pay over 25% a year. I know that sounds, extremely high and too good to be true, but I can definitely explain it to you. The fact is that if you're sitting in mutual funds, in retirement savings plans that are all in stocks type of thing, you're going to get into trouble and you're going to lose most of your money. The banking situation in Canada is suspect at this point. We've got a major bubble in Toronto and in Vancouver in real estate that's going to explode and hurt a lot of people. And if you're sitting with those as your basic and immediate assets, you really need to call because you're sitting in a very dangerous position. So please, we need to look at how to redistribute your portfolio and get you into a situation that, number one, protects you, but number two, gives you an opportunity to make a lot of money, and we can certainly make that happen for you.
Featured diamond of the week, 0.78 carat, oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. See it online, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. Get our free weekly newsletter. You can read that story about a woman who bought a $13 ring at a flea market, going to be auctioning it off, they think, for about $455,000 in July at Sotheby's in London. It turned out that it was a 26-carat cushion-shaped white diamond from the 19th century, according to the BBC. So that family is going to be making some serious money. Get our free weekly newsletter from Harold, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. And Harold touched on the pink diamond market, and it is just one of those things that you need to investigate and research and wrap your head around, because the potential of this market going forward in the next 5 years is one of these investments that people should be aware of. The opportunity is real and it's rare. There's the potential to make some serious money. The Argyle mine is in Western Australia, and it's the source of 90% of the world's pink diamonds. It's owned by Rio Tinto, Argyle mine, and they've been in operation since 1983, meaning its deposits are pretty much depleted. Rio says it's due to close in about 2020, 2021. Now, what will happen? More than likely, they will shut down, but they will have a few diamonds left in their vaults, may carry them for a year or two. Now, Rio Tinto says less than 0.01% of annual production, 14 million carats in 2016, comprises pink diamonds. It does not disclose how much the pink diamonds add to its balance sheet or what they're sold for at the Argyle tender, but they told Reuters in an email that Argyle pink diamonds have averaged double-digit growth for the last decade. Analysts say the Argyle pink diamonds tender, and they tend to be obviously very relatively small, but vividly colored. Other mines scattered around the world produces the occasional pink, and the Fancy Color Research Foundation, the FCRF, based in New York and Tel Aviv, they produce indices that illustrate price changes. The most expensive category, the Vivid Pink Index. It shows an average annual price rise of more than 14% since 2005. Other pink diamonds have done around 13%. But 14 and 13% since 2005, that is a very, very strong number. And Harold, that's one of the recommendations that you've made for a long time. Get people to educate themselves about pink diamonds. That pink diamond market, we know it's shutting down. This is a very rare opportunity. And if a person has the money to invest in this market and give it some time, there is very strong potential, as 95% of the world's pink diamonds will be going away.
You bet, Randy. This is a situation that will never happen again. There's not another mine in existence in the world today that does what the Argyle mine does, produce 95% of one given colored diamond. The other thing about pink diamonds is that nobody knows why diamonds actually turn pink or red, and both of those colors come from the Argyle mine. We do know the yellow diamonds turn yellow because of nitrogen, and so does orange diamonds turn orange because nitrogen has seeped into the ground. We know that blue diamonds turn blue because of boron. We know that green diamonds turn green because of uranium, but the mystery of pink diamonds is they have no idea why a diamond turned pink. So this Argyle mine is very famous. It was discovered in 1986, as Randy said. It was the largest producing diamond mine in the world, producing over 30 million carats of diamonds a year, which were mostly low-grade industrial white diamonds, diamonds that were used to cut other diamonds, make diamond drills and that type of thing. But out of all that mess comes the world's supply of pink diamonds, and it's minuscule. It barely fills a champagne flute. In actual fact, the whole Argyle tender, which is the biggest diamond event of the year, where they take these amazing diamonds on tour, there's only maybe 40 or 50 diamonds. And most of them are under a carat. In fact, 95% of Argyle pinks are under a quarter carat. It's known as the most concentrated form of wealth on earth. So, again, the situation with Argyle will never, ever happen again. And for those that are sitting with some money that's not working for them, one of the best places to put that money right now is into the pink diamond market and own yourself an Argyle pink.
Speak with Harold, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022. The website is rarecoloreddiamonds.com, and our featured diamond of the week is a .78 carat oval cut, fancy yellow, internally flawless ring. And you can see it, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond. One of the reasons we do our radio show on a weekly basis and put the information together that we do, we know we're in a time where it's very hard to know what to do to retire and obviously profit and protect the money that you work so hard for. So many Albertans work multiple hours every week trying to make ends meet. At the same time, they're in a position where they want to put a little bit of money away and be in a position where they can retire someday. And we're in a situation today with the markets, stock markets the way they are, and even bond markets and real estate markets, people are very concerned. We've seen major pullbacks before, and we don't want to lose all our money yet again. Lots of questions about what to do in the financial markets that we find ourselves in, and even with the geopolitical events of the day playing a part in the financial markets. And that's why Harold is there. He's willing to speak with you. If you have any questions whatsoever, he'll sit down and take the time to talk to you. And the call is free. Anything discussed is confidential. The telephone number, 1-800-432-1022, 1-800-432-1022. The website is rarecoloreddiamonds.com, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. And when you speak with Harold, ask him about Bill C-15. What does that mean for us as Canadians? Also, the Vancouver housing market and the Toronto housing market, both are becoming a major concern as we're starting to see them roll over. And ask Harold about cashless society as well. What will a cashless society mean to us as investors? Those are some of the questions, and I'm sure you'll have many of your own that you can ask Harold about when you give him a call at 1-800-432-1022. And Harold, we have about a minute left here. I know that you take calls all the time. We've had people that have been listening to the show for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years who are finally picking up the phone and calling you, and those that have been listening for the very first time. You're really starting to get a lot of calls lately.
You bet, and I love that, Randy. I love speaking to our clients and our friends, and actually we have 2 sets of clients in from Alberta this weekend, so we love a lot of our clients come down to visit, which is something that we encourage because we have a private showroom on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, close to where Trump lives, and just really spectacular to be able to come down from, cold Canada during the winter, especially to come down to Palm Beach in the winter is beautiful. And again, we certainly encourage that. We love our clients to come and visit. But all in all, I think that the show was great today. I think that we opened up people's eyes to what's happening geopolitically and what we need to do. We can't be content and just sit back and allow things to happen to us. Certain decisions are made for us, but we make our own decisions financially, and just to sit with these conventional investments is going to hurt you tremendously. You need to get in touch so we can discuss and rearrange your financial portfolio so you have an opportunity to protect and to make money, and that's what we do.
Thank you very much, Harold Siegel.
It's my pleasure, Randy. I wish everybody a wonderful weekend, a very profitable day, and to all our friends in the United States, have a great Memorial Day long weekend.
That's it. Another edition of the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.